They call it one of the darkest mysteries to ever haunt America's shores. A case dripping with secrecy, horror, and unanswered questions. It's a story that begins on the lonely edges of Long Island, where the Atlantic wind whips across the sand dunes and the waves crash endlessly against a shoreline that has become synonymous with death. This is the chilling saga of the Long Island serial killer, the phantom predator of Gilgo Beach. It started with a disappearance. In May 2010, Shannan Gilbert, a 24-year-old woman from Jersey City, vanished after placing a frantic 911 call in the early morning hours. Terrified and breathless, she told the dispatcher that someone was chasing her. "They're after me," she cried, her words distorted by panic. Police later claimed she was disoriented, possibly under the influence, but Shannan's fear was undeniable. Running barefoot through the gated Oak Beach community, she banged on doors, begging for help, until she was swallowed by the night. Her body wouldn't be found until a year later, in a marsh a few miles away. But Shannan's disappearance triggered a chain reaction, an unraveling that revealed something far more horrifying. While searching for her, investigators stumbled across a set of human remains buried in the brush along Gilgo Beach. Then another, and another, for bodies lined up as if deliberately placed, their skeletal forms wrapped in burlap sacks. All women, all young, all escorts who had advertised their services online. The police knew then this was no coincidence. They had stumbled into the hunting ground of a serial killer. The first 4 victims became known as the Gilgo Four. There was Maureen Brainerd Barnes, a 25-year-old single mother from Connecticut who vanished in 2007. She was bright, creative, and desperate to support her family. Megan Waterman, just 22, disappeared in 2010 after leaving a hotel in Hauppauge. She had a daughter waiting for her at home. Amber Lynn Costello, 27, vanished from her North Babylon home the same year. Friends remembered her as fiery and funny despite her struggles with addiction. And Melissa Barthelemy, 24, from the Bronx, who went missing in 2009. After her disappearance, her family received a series of taunting, chilling phone calls from a man they believed was the killer himself. Each of these women had lives, dreams, and people who loved them, but their vulnerabilities, poverty, addiction, the risks of sex work, made them easy prey for a predator lurking in the shadows. As police dug deeper, more bodies emerged from the sandy soil and thickets. By 2011, a total of 11 sets of remains were discovered along Ocean Parkway. Not all were confirmed victims of the same killer, but the sheer volume painted a picture of Long Island as a dumping ground for someone, or several someones, harboring unfathomable darkness. Gilgo Beach itself became a character in this macabre story. For decades, it was a stretch of quiet shoreline, framed by windswept dunes and summer houses. But beneath its surface, locals whispered, it had always carried an aura of danger. In the 1990s, rumors of mob dumps and hidden crimes swirled. Comparisons were drawn to other infamous killing grounds. The lonely highways of the Green River Killer in Washington state, where Gary Ridgway disposed of dozens of women, or the abandoned lots of Kansas where Dennis Rader, the BTK Strangler, prowled. Like those places, Gilgo Beach became more than a crime scene. It became a symbol of society's forgotten, where predators thrive and victims vanish without trace. The investigation, from the very beginning, was riddled with controversy. Suffolk County Police faced accusations of incompetence and even corruption. Why did it take so long to connect the disappearances? Why were warnings from families brushed aside? Shannan Gilbert's frantic 911 call, placed over 20 minutes, was not released to the public for years. Many began to suspect that the killer may have had connections to law enforcement, or that police were deliberately stalling to protect one of their own. The FBI eventually stepped in, lending their resources and expertise, but even then the case languished. Leads dried up, tips led nowhere, and the killer remained a phantom. Media outlets latched on, branding the mystery as the Craigslist Ripper, the Gilgo Beach Killer, and Lisk, the Long Island serial killer. The public, meanwhile, devoured every theory. Was it a lone wolf? A network of killers? Could it even be linked to the occult, given the eerie precision with which bodies were placed? Theories abounded. Some believed there were multiple killers, perhaps even competing predators using the same dumping ground. Others suggested an insider, a police officer, a politician, someone with knowledge of the investigation and the landscape. Still others leaned toward the supernatural. Was Gilgo cursed, a place where violence naturally manifested? For the families, though, it wasn't about theories. It was about justice, and about women who deserved to be remembered as more than statistics. Then, in July 2023, after more than a decade of frustration, came a breakthrough. Police arrested Rex Heuermann, a 59-year-old architect from Massapequa Park. Outwardly, Heuermann was unremarkable, a husband, a father, a man who blended into suburban life. He worked in Manhattan, lived in a modest home, and shopped at the same stores as his neighbors. But investigators uncovered a darker double life. Cell phone records, DNA evidence, and internet searches tied him directly to several of the Gilgo Four. His search history was chilling. Torture pornography, child abuse imagery, and obsessive queries about the investigation itself. Neighbors described him as a loner, socially awkward, someone who gave off a strange, unsettling vibe. But no one imagined that behind the quiet facade lay the mind of a predator who may have stalked women for years. Even with Heuermann's arrest, doubts lingered. Could one man really be responsible for all 11 bodies? Or was he just the easiest to catch? Some investigators quietly admitted they believed multiple killers were at work along Ocean Parkway. Others wondered whether Shannan Gilbert truly belonged on the killer's list, or if her death was a tragic accident separate from the rest. The legacy of Gilgo Beach stretches beyond the crime scenes. Documentaries, podcasts, and books have dissected every angle. The case has become a cultural obsession, a modern-day ghost story rooted in real horror. For victim advocates, it has sparked conversations about how society treats sex workers and marginalized women, who are too often dismissed until their bodies turn up in shallow graves. For law enforcement, it is a cautionary tale of how corruption, arrogance, or simple negligence can allow a killer to thrive in plain sight. And for the families, it is an unending nightmare. They still speak out, still demand answers, still insist that every bone found along Gilgo's dunes belonged to someone loved, someone missed. Mothers carry the weight of unanswered questions. Children grow up without parents. Sisters and brothers keep the memory alive, refusing to let their loved ones fade into the anonymity of the Gilgo victims. So here we stand, on the edge of Long Island, looking out over the dark waters that have borne witness to so many secrets. The story of the Long Island serial killer is not finished. It may never be finished. Whether Rex Heuermann proves to be the monster behind the mask, or whether more shadows still lurk in the dunes, one truth remains. Gilgo Beach will forever be haunted. Haunted by the women who walked into the night and never came back. Haunted by the predator who saw them as disposable. Haunted by a silence that still refuses to break. And as the tide rolls in and out, one can't help but wonder, how many more secrets does the sand still hold? How many more voices cry out from beneath the earth, waiting to be heard? The waves crash, the wind howls, and the story of Gilgo Beach is far from over.